here in Westport, Connecticut, it's like the first kind of resemblance of a sunny spring day. So it's always nice for that to happen. So what we started yesterday, if you weren't here, was really digging into our customer experience. Actually, or can you drop the link to the event workbook into the chat so that they all have it here? Wayne, I love the shirt. So if you look at this book is chock full of checklists, workflows, and different types of things that we're going to start working through together, because one of the most important things is that we really start to enhance our client experience to the place it's quantifiable, right? One of the things that we all shared yesterday, which I think is incredible, is how much work you actually do, your perceived value versus the actualized value, right? It's very hard to explain to somebody all of the different things you do as a buyer's agent, correct? And if you did, you'd literally be lecturing them. So it wouldn't probably be very fun for them. So the goal is to really take a step back and understand what the whole framework is, right? Step two is to be able to grade ourselves and what we do well, what we don't do well, right? It's like what we need to start doing, what we need to stop doing, what we need to do more of, what we need to do less of, that whole quadrant of change. And then make sure that it's repeatable and the outcome is predictable. And did I lose anybody in all of that? It's a lot for like the first 2 minutes. Okay, good. So if you go to this book, we're going to go to page 40. So just download the file and go to page 40. And if you're at the event, go to page 40. Oh, Brooke, add the link again. Some people just joined. I'll give everyone a moment to do this. All right, hit yes if you're there and you have this, just so I have an idea where everybody is. I see you. Page 40, Kimberly. So the first section of this, to me, man, I like that. You have the actual book. So the first part of this is your buyer's consultation, right? Now, in the buyer's consultation, there's a lot of different things that you have to explain, right? Asking the right questions. That's really the med C, right? You want to get into their motivations, their expectations, their disappointments and concerns, right? So where that asking the right questions, you're going to want to put a number in there, right? So rate yourself between 1 through 10. How good are you really at understanding what's important to the other person? If anyone wants to be brave, share their honest answer to that question. Brooke, we have to keep dropping the link in as new people keep coming.
Sorry, is this the same thing we did yesterday, buyer's experience?
Yep.
So what was your question?
Rate yourself, right? How good are you at understanding somebody's motivations, expectations, disappointments, and concerns? Too often we can get really excited because we have a lot of value to share. And you forget that the other person came there with all this different stuff, right? A 7. Great. No one put a 10. 10s are bullshit, right? Robert taught me this. I was like, Robert, how come you don't want to get to a 10? Because that assumes that there's no room for improvement. There's always room to get better. Right. So look, if you do this as a 9, that means you do this every single time. You can do it from memory. You're always able to meet people where they are. People say that you're a good listener, and it's something very easy for you to do repetitiously, right? It's habitual. Now, that's one area, right? So if you scored anything less than an 8, this is the first area you need to really start looking at, right? Because here's the thing. I said this to you all yesterday. Think of all of these things as your menu, right? And you're a chef. You don't know what things on your menu to offer somebody because you don't know what they're in the mood for, right? It's what they're in the mood for. Are they vegan, non-vegan, paleo, like whatever it is? Or do they just want to stuff their face, right? Like, give me some good chicken parm, right? Like, you don't know what another person wants unless you ask. Now, the other questions are, why are you moving? When do you want to move by? And what's your budget? Now, these are questions that people generally ask first, correct? Raise your hand if this is generally what you get into, people. Do you know what I think this comes across as? Accusatory. I want to move. Why are you moving? When do you want to move by? What's your budget? Now, tonality plays a big part in this, right? Does anyone like to move? Steffi, you just moved. I'm going to unmute you for a second. Is moving a fun process?
The prospect of moving is a fun process.
It's like one of those things you like the idea of doing it, right?
Yes, but now my mind's in a million different places. Yep.
Packing up all your husband's wine bottles is a whole other thing of its own, right?
Decided divorce is more expensive, so someone else can do that.
Yeah, there you go. So think about this. When somebody wants to move, right? I'll use you as an example. What made you want to move? What motivated you?
I needed more space.
You wanted more space, and what were well, obviously were you your own agent?
Yeah.
Okay, so what were your husband's expectations of you?
That I would take care of it all and get us a great space for a low price, which I did.
Exactly.
But I don't know if I fully agree with what you just said. I mean, I think tonality really does play a point, and as long as the conversation is more, that you care about their situation rather than accusatory.
So my suggestion to everyone is start with, however you want to use this anecdote, like what makes this the right time to move in your life, right? Like moving's a really big thing. Moving's is about as fun as paying taxes. It's something we all have to do at some point. That's something anyone willingly wants to do, right? I always found it making a joke is a good icebreaker. Depends on who your client are, but start with that, right?
Yeah.
And get through that process to understand who they are, what their why is, what they think, what they want, what's bad, what's good in their mind, and then get into those questions. They're not bad questions. You actually have to ask them, right? It's like if you're going into surgery, they have to ask you, like, do you have any other conditions? And do you have this? And do you have that? It's a very normal thing, but you have to start looking at this more of the overall flow, right?
And less about the budget, right? I feel like that part is accusatory.
Yeah, the whole, like, why are you doing something? Why are you moving? It could be answered in many different ways, right? Like, instead of why are you moving, what makes this an exciting time to move? Like, what are you excited about, right? Like, and there are different ways to go about this. So that whole part, put a score in for yourself and write this down and realize how it starts is how it goes. That conversation will set the tone for the entire thing. Everyone always talks about how to build rapport. This is how you build rapport. You actually understand the other person. Look, if you guys came for coaching and all I did was talk about how great we were and all the things we're going to do for you, it omits the needs of why you even came there. I don't think anyone would sign up because everyone has their own story, right? So let's get into the next part, explaining the market. Now, if you're going to give yourself an 8 or above on this one, I expect a lot of 6s, 5s, and 4s here. If you're doing this, you're able to explain the market to anyone at any time. 85% of the time, they'll come to your agreement on their own. Right? And that's where we talk about the you control, I control, no one controls, right? And it says, you know, Steffi, how many days was that on the market? What do you think the price was? And then that's where you start getting into the skills of, you know, when somebody says, all the homes are overpriced right now. Great. So you feel that everyone that's choosing to pay the prices to win a home is overpaying. Yes, absolutely. Great. So based on your feeling, and that's your thought, what makes you want to buy in this kind of market since you think it's a bad market to buy in? And you put it right back on them. That's explaining the market. It's not like, well, these are the comps, and if you want to win, it's not even doing that. Remember, everything is their choice. They're choosing to do this. You didn't call them, they called you. So that's explaining the market. So score yourself on that. Is this helpful for everyone to really go through this and understand each different segment? When we launch the playbook, we're going to go super deep on this. Now, the next part is explaining multiple offers. Hit yes in the chat box if you have multiple offers in your market.
Chirag, I have a question.
You have to hold on, Marina. We
Sorry.
Just drop it in the chat. No, it's fine. The next thing is multiple offers. How good are you at explaining multiple offers to people before? Raise your hand if you go through how multiple offers work before you ever bring somebody out with people. How do you explain multiple offers and how it works and the benefits of doing it before? Okay, good. So look, you want people to understand what the process is, how it works, what's doable, what's not doable, right? And in explaining multiple offers, here's a very important asterisk to put down. If the homes are predominantly selling in cash, right? You need to explain to people in financing offers that they should just be okay losing. Literally. No matter how much money they offer, what they do, based on the current economy and just people's view of cash, there's some security in that offer. So they can't take it personally. It doesn't have anything to do with you. It doesn't have anything to do with them. Does anyone actually do this now? One person, right? A couple people. Good. It's really important to do this, right? Because if they think that they're just going to get the highest price, the best terms will win them the deal, it's not the case so much anymore. So if you have a question, drop it into the chat so we can get through this part today. Okay. The next part, this is easy, reviewing disclosures, right? I would hope that you guys all know how to do this at a 9. If not, please do so. Explaining the home buying process. Write these words down. Has anyone taken the time to explain to you the home buying process? Has anyone taken the time? So make sure how well can you explain the home buying process with it being an inclusive conversation versus a college style lecture? And there was that great question. I don't know who was here that said this yesterday. The question was, what confuses you about the process? And then I added the line, what confuses you about the process of buying a home that you'd like to get clarity out of our conversation today? So you already know you're going to add value. Reviewing the closing fees. Do we all review closing costs? Like here, it depends where you are, right? In New York State, it's like 5%. It's crazy, right? Excuse me. So you should review the closing costs because make sure people have cash to close and they're well aware of it. Explaining the written offer. Thank you, Darlene. Explaining the written offer or the bidding process. Now, I'm going to just stop right here. Do you feel that doing all of these things adds a lot of value to another person? I would hope so. Because I'll tell you what, all of these things that we went through, they're not getting on Zillow. Right? So this goes back to the perceived value and the actualized value. It's like, how do you communicate these things to people? Right? But if we're buying and we want to buy effectively or sell effectively, we need to be able to communicate this with them. So we need to get very detailed in what we offer, how we do it. And then look, we could write this out on our website. It's like a menu that you send people, right? Like, here's the process we go through. I would encourage you to make a video to talk about this. Buyer questionnaire, right? Do any of you guys use a questionnaire where it's like a Google form that they could fill out all of their stuff? Right? And now I would encourage you to share your questionnaires with each other. I guarantee you, if you all did it, Marina, reach out to Abby, reach out to Steffi. They've already made one, right? Connect with them and collaborate and kind of fast track your learning. So if you don't have a questionnaire that gets all of this detailed information out of somebody, that's something you need to make. All right, I'm going to pause for a second here, and I'll go through one more, and then this is our column for today. Sharing helpful resources, mortgage inspector, title, escrow attorneys. How do you share that contact list with other people? How do you share that with other people? Do you have a contact list? Email template? I see you dot your I's and cross your T's. That's good. See, guys, Steffi's coming correct with her buyer questionnaire, email template with her vendors, right? So she's already has part of her process down in the way that she does it. And now the way is that we want to communicate this so the other person understands. Abby is nice enough to drop her form in here. It's very simple. All right, so now what I want you to do is this. I want you to take the next 6 minutes and go through what we talked about. And now there's action items, right? You should take the next 6 minutes and write out what you want to work on. Right? What am I going to work on? When am I going to do it by? And then when you get off this call, put time in your calendar to do it. What am I going to do? When am I going to do it by? And then calendar the time to do it. And if you have a question, drop it in the ideas for other people. What was your major? Oh, me? Communications in college. Oh, I guess this becomes ask me a question.
I'm going to work on explaining the market. I want to get that process down that you have.
So there in the book, let's see, where is this? This looks like a novel. Go to page. I don't know what it is. It's the 7 keys to having an effective conversation. Let's see. I don't know where it is, but it's in here somewhere. Oh, Oh, wait, here it is. Go to page. Let's go.
Should be page 46.
46. So when you're explaining the market, you got to go by these 7 keys, right? Key number 1, it's always their choice. Key number 2, the person asking the question controls the conversation. Stop trying to explain to like talk people into understanding. Everything always has to be in the benefit of the other party. You remember in that offer, remember when I said all the homes that are overpriced is great. If I know that you don't want to overpay, that doesn't feel really good. So what made you consider buying a home in this market? Abby, this is our event book. Brooke will put another link in here and you can download it. Always be in agreement with your client. No telling, no explaining, no being combative. You're not going to tell somebody into thinking and feeling, right? I know as a married man, if my wife is upset, telling her how she should feel or whether she's right, wrong, and different is not going to get me anywhere in life. The goal at that point, when someone is saying a feeling, is just to listen and empathize. I understand what you are saying. Because what's true for you is true for you, right? Lee, my man. Number 6, never show you're attached to any outcome. What we don't realize often as realtors is the way that we start talking is like, you know, you show them all the comps and then they want to pay the price of, they want to sell their home for an updated price when their home's dated. And you go, wait, but do you see those comps? And like that's just shows that you're attached to just your own outcome. Emotions, you have to manage your emotions. But we're not attached to anything. The person willing to walk away is the most dangerous person in negotiation. And the last one is what they choose to do does not mean you must make a compromise. Meaning if they want to do something crazy, right? Like go look at houses and try to find some crazy deal, does not mean that you have to be the unpaid tour guide wasting your time, money, and resources in doing it. You don't have to compromise. You don't have to cut your commission because someone only wants to pay 2%. So the next session, we're gonna keep going through these lists. Was this helpful for everybody to like really start going in deep? Now, make sure you keep your promises to yourself into what you're going to work on. So we'll pick back up at the next section tomorrow. As always, I love you all and I'll see you mañana. Bye, everybody.